May the first be with you. And today I bring you an update to my OSC preprocessing script in open beta. Now, this script has been very versatile since it was released, and I think it's gotten better. The script can handle single sessions, multi-sessions, multi-night, multi-target, smart telescopes, monochrome, DSLR images, as well as automatic mosaic stitching all at the same time. And I've been loving working on it and working with it on processing my own data. Now, I normally wait until my scripts are in production and it's been approved by Siril before making a video like this, but there's been quite a few user interface changes to this, so I didn't want to override what's working now, which is really stable, with something that may break for people. So I thought I'd give the open public a chance to test this out before I make it public through the Siril workflow. Now, all of my scripts usually go through some kind of beta testing, but because of the work I was doing here, and I really want to show this off for the first time at NEAC a couple weeks ago when I gave one of my talks, this was more of in a closed beta system so that I could do a preview for all those who paid to attend NEAC and give them something special. If you saw this version of the script for the first time at NEAC, let me know. I'd love to hear from you again. Since this is the beta version of the script, you do have to install this manually, so I do show you how to do that in the demo part of this video. But if you don't want to deal with the hassle of installing it manually, you prefer getting it automatically, if you just wait a couple of weeks, once I get enough feedback from people, I fix any bugs that they find, if I'm able to, and I'll push it through the Siril team, and it'll be officially in Siril in a couple of weeks. And if you do use it and you want to give me some feedback or ask for help, the best way to do this is to join the Discord server. The invite link is in the description below, so check that out. If you like GitHub, you can also submit an issue on GitHub and I will answer you there as well. And please include the log file if you are requesting help, and I also show you how to do that in this video. Before we demo, I just want to send a huge thanks to all my patrons on Patreon, Buy Me a Coffee supporters, and here on YouTube. You all motivate me to keep things rolling, and if you'd like to join this wonderful list of people, please check the links in the description and the pinned comment below. Let's dive into the demo. Since this is an open beta script, you'll have to install this manually, which means that the script under scripts, Python scripts, preprocessing OSCPP, this version here that opens here, v2.0.2, is the current production version, so you can still continue to use it. But if you want to test the latest version, the newest version, you'll need to install it manually. And to install that, the first thing I would recommend doing is going to scripts, click on get scripts, and look up what script storage directories you have here. I have one that I custom made called custom Siril scripts, and this is what it looks like. So I have some test scripts that I've tested for others and my own self here. And once I put things in custom Siril scripts, they show up under scripts, Python scripts, custom Siril scripts. You can see the 3 scripts here. So if you don't have one set up, if you don't have a location already, just enter a new one, make sure that folder exists, and then you can close this. And now we're going to go into GitHub. You will find the link to this branch directly in the description, as well as the pinned comment and pretty much anywhere else if you ask me. This branch has the latest code, and what we're going to do is we're going to click on Astronomy OSCPP. You'll see that the version is 2.0.3. That's the latest version I'm working on. And we're going to click on this download raw file. And once I have it downloaded, I'm just going to paste it over here. So now I have an Astronomy OSCPP here. So now I'm going to go back to Siril. I'm going to go to scripts, get scripts, and I'm going to click on this little refresh button. And then I'll click on apply, sure. And then click on scripts, Python scripts, custom Siril scripts, and now it's here. So if you ever want to install a script manually, not just mine, this is the best way to do it. The custom Siril scripts is just a custom folder that I created. You can create your own, whatever you want to call it. So now that is here, we're going to click on OSCPP, run it. The first time it runs, it may take a minute or two because it has some additional dependencies, including this layout, this new template template library that I'm using instead of doing the whole design myself. So it could take a couple of minutes, so don't worry. It will run unless you see an error in the log file. Just wait, it'll run depending on your computer speed. So a couple things to go over here. It's all pretty much similar including the processing tab. It's all similar to the previous version. The target modes are all the same. All the options are the same. The biggest updates in this screen, in this version, are on this files processing section here, because I revamped the UI to make it a little bit simpler, a little bit more intuitive. If you hover over the middle section here, you get a tooltip that says drag and drop files and folders are now available. It'll automatically try to assign files based on where they're located, but we're going to do a quick demo of it here. We have a default session here, and let's take a look at some data. So I have this folder here, so I have a bunch of folders. So I'm going to use the headphone nebula that I imaged like last November, and it has three files, three folders here: lights, flats, and biases. So you can select all of these and you can drag and drop them here. It adds all the lights, flats, and biases accordingly. I'm going to reset everything. What you can also do is go here to the parent directory and just drag this whole parent directory here. Then it'll also traverse through the files, the folders, and then add them as is. And you can see that it adds them, and you get a little green icon here. So I'm going to reset everything once again. And the other cool thing here I'll show you is, since I have a bunch of different sessions here, if I select two of these, like M82 and Headphone Nebula here, and I click and drag it over, you see that it gives me a multi-session folder detected pop-up. It gives me a summary of what's in there. So there's 20 biases, 20 flats, and 31 lights in that one. M82 just has 17 lights. And it'll create two sessions for me automatically. So you can see this is M82, and this is the Headphone Nebula, and it has the flats and biases as is. Now this is super handy when you're trying to do something cool. So I'm going to show you one of our larger projects here. So I have the Large Magellanic Cloud. You saw the result of this probably a couple weeks ago. If you haven't, recommend checking that out. And here, so if I look at, for example, session 4 here, this is our panel 4, RGB lights. So this is broken down into 3 nights. This was all sorted by my friend Chris, who's a partner in this whole remote observatory in the Kagakama Remote Observatory. So really neatly sorts everything for me, and each of these nights has their own lights. Some of these have calibration frames. I handle them differently, but in case you don't. But what if I do is, if I click on the RGBs for these 4 panels, I click and drag them, you'll see that it detected 13 sessions. It'll detect the calibration frames in there. It'll create a different session for each of these nights. There you go, super easy. And session 4, or is it session 2? Yeah, session 2 had all the lights here. So pretty super simple. Now there was some talks about, like, what about, like, these are, like, if you don't have to share calibration frames, like if you can share calibration frames amongst multiple sessions, how do you handle that? And I think I'm looking for that kind of feedback. Like, how do you want this to handle your data? Again, this is not reading FITS files headers, it's just going based on folders. So it's a little bit tougher to sort them, but it is possible. But if you have feedback on that, I would love to hear it. So another thing I'll point out here is, if you have calibration frames that are already stacked from before, so these were stacked using my script. So there's a couple ways you can add them. So the first is, if you add like flat stacked individually here, it'll give you the option to either add that to the current session or to all sessions. So if I click on current session, it'll only add it to this session. If I go back here and I click on this, it will, and click on all sessions, you'll see that it now gets added to every single session. So now session 4, I think, has 2 flats because I added it twice. Again, feedback on whether you think that should be needed. So if you need to delete it, you can select this and click on remove selected files, or you can click on delete or backspace on your keyboard, and it just removes them from the list. So another cool thing about calibration frames is, if you have unstacked calibration frames, you want to stack them, you can select these all, you can drag and drop them here, and it'll ask you what kind of calibration frames you're doing. So you can do flats, and once you click on flats, you'll get an option to add flats to one or more than one session, or you can do all sessions and it'll add flats to all of them. Now if you add a single flat file, for example, Or if you want to add them as calibration frames, like master flats. Let's say I have these two, they're master flats, just pretending. Because they don't have flats stacked, the script doesn't know whether or not it's a master frame. So you can select, say, hey, this is a master flat, and you'll get the exact same options. Whether do you want to include them on everywhere or just select the sessions. If I want to include them in just, like 3 sessions here, click select the sessions, and then I have 3 extra flats here. If I go to session 13, I don't even remember which sessions I added, but yeah, like this one, there's so many of them here. But anyways, that's cool to do. I'll also just reset everything. And then if we go back to my data here, you can also click and drag files. It'll ask you whether they're lights, darks, flats, biases, masters. You can add them in as is. If it's not unable to read them from the file name, it'll do this. And again, if you drag in just the light directory, it just adds them because it sees that it's a light directory and just adds them. Another thing that I did fix here is the use of raw data. So raw data from other non-FITS files. So I have some data from my Canon DSLR from a while ago. This is of one of the Veil Nebula complex. So this is NGC 6960. So we can add this and this will run as well. And this works the same way. So if I come in here and I drag this folder here, you'll see that it detected the lights and the darks and split them out pretty well. If I add a session and go back here, and if I add these manually, it'll ask me what type of file they are because it can't tell. If I go back and add the light folder, it'll add the lights. If I add the dark folder, it'll add them as darks. And same as that one, if you click and drag an individual file, if it can't tell what it is, it'll ask you what it is. And you click on which sessions, you do all sessions, and it gets added as another dark. So I'm going to remove this session. Now we have session 1. Everything else, like I said, is the same here. Help section has been updated to include some of the drag and drop functionality here. I did my best to cover all these things, but let me know if this documentation could also be a little bit better. All of this can still also work with the mono experimental setup. If you have the filters in different folders, and then each of the filters has their own lights folder, darks folder, calibration frames, etc., it works as well. I did not test this as well with monochrome, but let me know if you do try it out, how it works for you, if you have any feedback on that. As I mentioned a bunch of times, I'll probably split out the monochrome logic into its own script just because there's just too many branching logic in this code here. It just gets a little bit hard to maintain. So I'll probably split that out later on. Again, it does panel mosaics really easily. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually run this thing here with CR2 just to show you how things work. I am using an empty working directory, so the test sesh is empty. It's nothing here. You set this by clicking on the little home directory here. You click wherever, test session. I guess I have stuff here, so it's not an empty directory, but it doesn't really matter. In the processing, I am not using dark flats. So one of the things I did notice during the testing is that if you use dark flats instead of biases, you need to do an extra step in the Siril workstream to make it calibrate your lights a little bit better. So if you have dark flats, just check this file and just add your dark flats in the biases section, and that works. You can clean up intermediate files. It'll do its best to delete them. There's some better error handling here, but some systems like Macs and Linux could block deleting those files. So if you have issues, do let me know, but it's possible that it's not going to be able to help you there. Background extraction I recommend on all of your frames. You can do drizzle as well if you have well dithered data. I'm not going to do drizzle this time. We have a bunch of filtering options here. It hasn't changed again, so you can do filter between sigma and percentages value. I'm just going to leave it off. Feather if you're doing mosaics. I'm not going to do that. You can do weight stacking here. So I'll do weight by FWHM, sure. We'll do output normalization. Save calibrated lights if you want to do that. I'll show you what that looks like. So I'll check this box. This is a single target, so multi-target and panel mosaics are grayed out. That's because it's not you only have one session. So if I add a second session, those will immediately get re-enabled. And then I want to click create a final stack. So I'm going to click on start processing. All right, that completed. So I had like a weird mosaic happening here, but you can see that the Veil Nebula is here pretty clearly. Not my best work, obviously. It's from years ago, but looks good. And this was with CR2 files. If I open up my test sessions directory, we can see a couple of directories here, including the FITS file that was created here that we saw. It has my collected lights, which has all of the session PP lights that are calibrated, so you can save this and then stack this later without having to calibrate them again. It does have my masters directory here where there you go, it has my dark stack. So these are from my previous sessions, so you can ignore these. Actually, just going to delete them here. It does have my sessions, so it looks like I do have a little bit of a bug where the cleanup session is not working, or it did work, so it's just empty. It then just didn't get rid of the folders, but let's see if I do properties. Yeah, 0 bytes. So I'm going to look into this. So if you have this, let me know. If you don't see it, also let me know. I'm curious why that's happening. And my presets here from whenever I last did them. But yeah, this works pretty well. Works with CR2 files. If I were to run it with FITS files, it'll work just as well. The only thing to know is that if you are running this from a different drive, so here I'm running this from a NAS server, not even on my computer, it will copy the files over instead of doing a symlink. So I think the latest library that Siril is using on Windows, the ECRT64 version, it is having some issues symlinking from an external drive from a non-home drive. But if you add these files from the same directory, from the same hard drive, then it'll symlink and save you some space. So just something to know, something to keep in mind. But again, just run through this, try and break it, and report anything. If you run into issues, send me the log file. On this screen here is this little bottom download button. You click on download. It'll save the file. Leave the timestamp. You can change it if you want, but just leave it. You click on save. And now in my test session directory, here I have the log file that I can open. And there you go. It has all the information I would need in order to help you. And you can see like all these log files that you have sent over the last few weeks. I clear this out every once in a while, but there's just a ton of them. And I try to help every single person who reaches out. I hope you're excited about this new version. Try and use it any way you like. Try and break the script. If you get any errors, I'd love to see it. That's the best way we can iterate on this kind of process and make it even better. Now, I am releasing this beta version of the script before I go away for a little over a week. So if you do submit support requests on Discord in the Siril server support or Siril script support channel, or on GitHub or anywhere else, I do apologize if I am a little bit slow getting back to you. I hope you all can help each other in those forums, but I will eventually get back to you. I'm just away. If you're a paid supporter, you can DM me directly on Discord, or you can email me, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I'd like to thank you for watching the demo. I think it answers a lot of the questions that you may have, but if there's anything that I didn't answer, please do let me know in the comments below. I hope to hear from you soon, and until next time, clear skies.